All right, here we go. Here's the fun one. A lot of you know that when I jumped into trying to be involved in this process, I ran on this issue. I noticed an inequity in our cannabis ordinance. I'm pro-cannabis. You don't have to believe that if you don't want to, but I do believe in equity. And so to illustrate, and I've been thinking about this for a long time, how do we make it simple? How can we illustrate the inequity that we have? And I'm asking for you to bear with me for just a couple of quick seconds. If there's a few of you out there that has newer technology, like a phone that has a calculator, please grab that out. And city manager, if you don't mind, I don't trust the city calculators, but I went and found a really old one here, and I checked it, and I switched all the things, I tested it, and I think the numbers were accurate, but it's on paper. So I appreciate the city manager humoring me through this. So let's talk about this. I personally have no desire to raise taxes on dispensaries. Dispensaries have been carrying the load, honestly, 6%, straight off. They're paying that. What I want to illustrate is the difference between the different sides of the industry. And I'm not making this up. I've talked to a lot of people in the industry on both sides. But let's break it down. Let's use a number, $10 million, okay? So if you got your calculator, $10 million. If you're a dispensary and you make, or gross, or whatever the self-reporting requirement is, you make $10 million over the course of a year and you have to pay 6%, somebody yell it out. How much is that? 6% of $600,000 on $10 million, right? Okay, so wow, thank you, dispensaries. You are helping Lompoc. We really appreciate that. And manufacturing is helping Lompoc too. Yes, they're bringing jobs, lots of opportunities. They're trying to bring employees here to find a safe town to live in, raise their families. That's fine. But let's start to break this down. So $10 million made in manufacturing. And before I go there, I don't think there's much argument. I've heard many people say that a fee is essentially a tax. Does anyone disagree with that? Maybe. We can talk about it later. But a fee is a tax. So if we accept that, let's do this. So $10 million and $30,000 is the fee. What's that tax percentage that the manufacturers are paying right now?
I screwed something up on this one. It's
You may have to help me with your phones this is a city calculator, so we've.
It only works half the time.
yeah, 0.3. So 3 cents.
Okay, so manufacturing, if you agree that a fee is a tax on $10 million, the same income, their effective tax rate is from the city of Lompoc, them bringing in some funds, trying to help rebuild our community, is 0.03%.
0.3.
0.3%, thank you.
0.3.
So here's where it gets, did I say that right?
No, it's as a percent, it's 0.3 or 0.3%.
So 0.3%. Okay, fine. So we're way off. We got 6% and 0.3 or 0.03. You understand the difference. Let me illustrate it even further. So what happens when manufacturing makes it to $25 million? They're going to still pay $30,000 to the city. What's their effective tax rate? Since you all that I've talked to, many of you said that a fee is a tax. So how much taxes are we getting from manufacturing on $25 million in gross revenue?
0.12.
Oh my goodness, how did it go down? So I'd love one more number. So if they are successful and they build and they grow and they make it to $50 million in revenue, oh my gosh, I hope the calculator can go this low. What's that number? What's the effective tax rate for manufacturing making $50 million in Lompoc?
6/100. So 0.06.
So I have talked to many people in dispensaries and in the industry. I have no desire to raise taxes on dispensaries. If there was an openness up here at council, I would actually be open to lowering that because that's on the back of consumers. But when it comes to manufacturing, somehow, before I got here, we didn't notice how egregious the disparity is between taxation. Now, I know we've got public comment. I know a lot of people have ideas and people have given us feedback, but I'm being completely blunt and honest with you. I've got stacks. The city has provided it. If you want to talk to me afterwards, we'll go through and list every single city that has found the will and the wherewithal to charge a reasonable amount on manufacturing. Why? To drive them out of town? To lose jobs? There's a ton of places that have the industry there thriving, and their community is benefiting in that that industry has paid their fee or their tax, and the city is in turn benefiting the citizens with some of those resources. Is it the cannabis industry's fault that we have crime, that people don't feel safe, or that our parks aren't great? No, that's not the issue at all. It's not their fault. But we have the opportunity to have invited an industry in here to help us rebuild our community. So I'm not looking for any large, ridiculous numbers here. But if you've got a reason or a good argument that we should keep a tax rate for somebody possibly making up to $50 million in Lompoc, and that tax rate should be 0.0 something, we have to do better. It could be a low number, but it has to be something. We're getting next to nothing. We're driving around in 30-year-old fire trucks that we can't certify anymore. Our police cars can't stop in time because we have to keep sending them in to get repaired, and it costs us more than buying a new one. We are so far behind in our responsibilities to do our due diligence for this city, our fiduciary responsibility. And up to this point, we've missed it. From my perspective, it is an emergency. We need to get this on the ballot ASAP. Why? So that the voters can decide their destiny for their town. Not the industry and not me. This should be up to the voters. If we delay this, if we can't get this done, worst case, if we can't get 5 people up here to get out of the way, we're going to postpone this, worst case, until November of 2022. By the time we start collecting anything from this update, we should have done this years ago, it'll be the first part of 2023. So again, we're going to tell our community we've got to wait a few more years. Just wait, just hang in there. We'll be fine, we'll get there eventually. That is not fair. We have an emergency in our town. And there is a gross and egregious disparity between the tax rates on the industry here. We have to do something, and we have to do something immediately.